couple of interesting cases for you. This is a patient with a long-standing traumatic cataract who was sent to me in angle closure. He's got a stuck down pupil, so we're going to use iris hooks here to widely dilate this pupil, as there was some preoperative phacodenesis, and so there is a possible issue with the lens stability. Viscoelastic and then vision blue under the viscoelastic to stay in the capsule, and you can see here that the lens is mobile. So we create a very careful 5.5 millimeter capsular rhexis, and we're now going to stabilize the capsular bag with these MST capsule hooks, because the bag is indeed quite unstable, and that's the reason why the patient went into angle closure. It's quite a dense cataract, so we're using the appropriate phaco settings to deal with this, and we use a phaco chop technique, top up with viscoat as we go through to try and protect the corneal endothelium, and the phaco continues in a relatively routine manner, a little bit more viscoelastic just to tamponade the vitreous face in the bag. We do a little bit of IA, but it's very apparent that the bag is extremely unstable. And what's interesting here is that the anterior hyaloid appears rather fibrotic, perhaps due to the previous trauma, and we've noticed this in a few cases, that the anterior hyaloid can become fibrotic and actually is quite stable. So we take out the capsular bag here, and we see that the anterior hyaloid is still intact, and remarkably we can actually carry out an IA in front of the anterior hyaloid without actually disturbing it. We then assessed the patient in clinic, and his visual acuity actually improved to 624 following the placement of a +10 lens, and so we went back and did a secondary lens fixation here, and this is using the Yamane technique, but what's unusual here is that we're going to do this without disturbing the anterior hyaloid. So we place our 30 gauge thin-walled needles in an appropriate manner, pass the leading haptic in, and then do the same with the trailing haptic. And as the hyaloid is rather fibrotic here, we did not experience any anterior prolapse of the vitreous. The Yamane proceeded in a relatively routine manner, and the patient had a very good outcome. The other issue here was that he was still in angle closure, so we went also at this stage and performed a direct goniosynovial lysis, and he ended up with good vision and stable intraocular pressure. This is another interesting case. The cataract here has already been removed, and again this was a case of pseudoexfoliation with very high pressures, and so we removed the cataract, but we left the capsular bag intact, and you can see that the zonules are there along with a very contracted capsular bag, and the hyaloid has been pushed backwards because of this fibrotic remnant of the capsular bag, so we're able to place the intraocular lens in front of the hyaloid again without disturbing it. We carry out the Yamane implantation in the usual manner in front of the anterior hyaloid without disturbing it, and no vitreous is prolapsed here. The patient was also undergoing a simultaneous Paul tube implantation, and so now we go ahead and place the Paul tube to control his very high intraocular pressure. The patient ended up with a very good intraocular pressure control and a vision of 6/18 despite very advanced glaucoma. Thank you very much for your attention.